Greetings. My name is Ted Parrington. I'm the founding dean here at the Sharjah Education Academy, and I'm with Michael Cassidy, the Associate Director of the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, Continuing and Professional Learning. Welcome, Michael. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Thank you. Happy to be here. My name is Michael Cassidy. I work with the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education as an Associate Director in the Continuing and Professional Learning area. My background is I was educated as a teacher. I worked in a grade 1 class for a short time and then a grade 3 class for a short time, and was attracted to the teaching of teachers. So I was a coordinator of the grade 3 level, and it kind of launched an administrative support for teacher learning from there.
So we have an interesting project ongoing, which is the co-constructing of a master's degree and a professional diploma, postgraduate diploma in educational leadership that will be delivered in Sharjah, the UAE, and perhaps in other parts of the Middle East. And it's been an interesting process of co-construction, which is what we are calling it, where we are bringing some of the best from Canada and the knowledge base that is made up the global foundations of the field of education leadership, but adapting it to the contexts here in Sharjah and the UAE. That process of co-construction, what does that mean to you? And what does it mean to you to be bringing some of this knowledge and the knowledge base into Sharjah and the UAE?
Mm-hmm. Thanks. I think we say in the school ground of most schools, it takes one to know one. So I think there's a sense of what's possible improves when we work together. So I think for us is a huge excitement to work with the likes of you and your team. We've come from different parts of the world with sort of amazing experiences, as well as in the context of Sharjah, which has, of course, put such a huge investment and priority on improving schooling and improving educators. In terms of, going toward a master's or working on a graduate level program for school leaders and giving school leaders the skills that they need. I also studied in a master's for education at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. And I was definitely supported in the classic theory practice nexus that we all, I think, hope to be supported by and resourced by as educators. I think the co-construction really is about knowing each other, and how does one know each other but to explore kind of levels of inquiry. And I think that the inviting the learners, students, or those aspiring education leaders to have a set of best practices on getting to know oneself as an education leader, but also getting to know the community of which they're entering and they're being welcomed into, both in terms of acknowledging that there's resources there for them, there's a very long history of improving as that professional, and that it's it's a great opportunity for them to be part of a community which is within Sharjah at your academy, but also globally.
The topic we're going to talk about today is about community building and the role of a school leader in shaping a positive relationship between the school and the community that the school is situated in. And I think it's a wonderful topic to illustrate the idea of co-construction and the collaboration between two countries. In particular, I think of the knowledge base as an understanding around the world from all the scholars and practitioners in the field. It's kind of like, in my opinion, medicine. You have a basic foundation of knowledge about how the body works and about illness and so forth. But the bedside manner, or the way that you approach a patient, or the way that you organize treatment, or the way that you organize the process of diagnosis and so forth is going to be different based on a culture or a different community that you're in. And I think that does serve as a perfect illustration of this situation that we're in. And I think community building is one of those very distinct things. There's a knowledge base of it around the world in education leadership, but it's going to be applied in vastly different ways in any community, any country, any region. And so looking at it from that perspective, above the culture or country context, what does community building from the school level and from a school leader's perspective mean to you as a broad approach to school leadership?
It makes me think of one of the jobs or opportunities that I was able to have coming out of my master's education was to work with a not-for-profit housing authority, and in that role, we realized that the role of education and condition setting was essential for not only maintaining a community in a physical sense, but also the quality or the sense of thriving, or what you spoke of around the bedside manner made me think about just your day-to-day quality of life and etc. We call that community trust education. We felt trust was a really important element to build. And I'd say that in from this set of tools or this set of resources, or again, from within the community that is studying education, the applications are wonderfully, numerous. And I think that the benefits for understanding condition setting as an educator really benefits a leader. And that leader, we love to use the term instructional leader, both for the sense of a school teacher looking to a principal or a school leader as an instructional leader, but also as a condition setter. So again, I think that the conditions that you have set as an academy for us matter a lot for the conditions that the learners who study in your academy will then have the opportunity to potentially implement and deliver, and maybe obviously improve based on the distinctions of each community. And I think, maybe finally on that, to get to know what are those important distinctions, obviously, is to get to know your community. And there's no better way to get to know your community is to start with getting to know yourself as an educator, and then using the myriad of tools and resources to, discover the needs and try, in a very simple term, just try a bunch of activities that would get the best out of everybody. So everyone can imagine that in a classroom environment, you create environments to draw your students out, and essentially to find their voice or to practice their voice. I think it's very similar at a school level for a school leader to make sure that your employees and your staff team, which include teachers, but also include a wide range of actors, have a voice and are contributing to the feedback on running a school and being part of a community and serving the variety of needs that schools fulfill.
You mentioned earlier in your response, it's often about building trust. And I think that's extremely difficult for a very busy school leader. And like my image of most school leaders is that their time is being divided across classrooms and teachers and other staff, their superiors, regulators, parents, vendors, and so many other aspects that could be considered parts of the broader school community. And I think what's difficult about it, of course, is that when your time is so divided, it's really hard to build trust with anyone, because you have so many different things that you have to pay attention to. And I think the challenge for many new leaders especially is to know, how do you start that process? How do you get intimately involved with the work of building a community when you have probably an inbox that is overflowing, and you have potential problems that you have to fix every single day, and especially teachers and parents and students that need you on an urgent basis. What advice would you give maybe a new school leader to just begin the process of building trust within a community and to create those positive relationships?
I think one of the really enjoyable and professionally challenging activities that our teams have employed is a community of practice. So that necessitates identifying who's your team and what are your objectives. So I would say that it's discursive in that way. You want to have a team that you talk through this with constantly around prioritization. And I don't think you get that correct. Well, you shouldn't get that correct immediately, in the sense that it's a growing and emerging sense of responsiveness to your community and your service to that community. So I think that a good dose of humility, goes a long way, as well as trial and error. I think that it's never enough to implement a system without acknowledging that it's responding to a living community or a living set of conditions. And those variables are so wonderfully diverse that I think the best thing is have a set of relationships around you that help to prioritize at all time.
I think that, to me, sounds very promising because you're giving the room for the possible mistake every once in a while without it ruining everything. You're hopefully will build confidence in new leaders to know that they don't have to have it right the first time.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's even one of the definitions of being a master of education, is to acknowledge that theory, practice, intricate relationship or dance, or that there's things that are always emerging, and it's a set of patterns that we all engage in, and I think there's something about acknowledging both the trust that we're both speaking about and the sense of community, and our teams have employed, again, a community of practice model, not only to achieve a program outcome, but rather to set the stage for a program, to set the conditions for a program of which we welcome learners into. So I think that the students of our day, or learners in this case for education, for being a leader, are in touch with the world that they're part of. So it's a nexus or a dilemma or an opportunity, I think, that everyone faces, bringing in the practical, actual needs of a community or a classroom, and adhering to theory and aspirations, which I think is lifelong. And so there's an endurance factor, and I do think our institutions and academy, like your academy, is employed really to just support that journey, that long, arduous journey towards supporting education systems and education environments and educators, essentially.
Well, it's very promising and hopeful.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it there. Thank you
Wonderful.
very much, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah,
It was
it's
wonderful.
enjoyable. Yeah, thanks a lot.